Have you ever wondered why rejection hurt you so deeply? Why no amount of success, validation, or achievement ever seemed to fill the void? Why certain moments trigger emotions that seem bigger than the situation itself? What if some of the struggles that you're facing today aren't really about today? What if they're connected to a father wound that you never healed? Because here's what most people don't realize. A father wound doesn't just stay in childhood. It follows us into adulthood, into our marriages, into our parenting, and sometimes into our relationship with God. So today, I want to talk about something deeply personal, and I'm going to get extremely transparent. Not because it's easy, but because I know somebody listening is carrying a similar wound. And maybe my honesty can become part of their healing. Now, my parents got divorced when I was 3 years old, so my father wasn't a consistent presence in my life. And there was a moment where he was around, but I never experienced being raised by him day after day. And here's something that I learned, that children don't process pain the way adults do, because adults analyze, but children personalize. You see, adults ask questions like, what happened? But children, on the other hand, they say, what does this mean about me? You see, nobody sat me down and explained adult problems. Nobody explained divorce. Nobody explained broken relationships. So the little boy inside of me started drawing conclusions. Maybe I'm not important enough. Maybe I'm not valuable enough. Maybe I'm not lovable. And that's what wounds do. They create narratives. And those narratives often becomes the lens through which we see ourselves. So for years, I carried questions that nobody could help me answer. Am I wanted? Am I important? Am I enough? And if you ever wrestle with any of those questions that I just said, put me too in the comments below. Because what I want you to see is that you're not by yourself. And what I didn't realize then was that pain doesn't just create wounds, pain creates vows. See, I remember being roughly about 10 years old, and me and my cousin made a declaration. We said we was going to be great fathers. We'll always be there for our children. And at the time, that sounded noble. But looking back, it was an inner vow. And an inner vow is a promise born from pain. I'll never let my kids feel what I felt. I'll never become what hurt me. And here's what I learned. That trauma doesn't just create pain, it creates promises. You see, the danger is that promises made from wounds often become prisons because you're spending your life from something instead of healing it. So fast forward years later, life gives me an opportunity to keep that promise. You see, I was in the army, young, driven, trying to build a future. And then my son was born. And I still remember getting off that plane from Iraq and going straight to the hospital. I looked at him and thought, this is my chance. I get to become what I never had. You see, I wasn't just holding my son. I was holding a dream that the cycle would stop with me, a dream that this generation would be different, a dream that my children would never experience what I experienced. But life doesn't always cooperate with our plans. Divorce came, pain came, disappointment came, and suddenly I found myself facing the very thing I swore would never happen. You see, I wasn't with my son every day. And if I'm honest, the pain was bigger than the divorce because it touched something much older. The little boy inside of me was hurting, but the grown man didn't even realize it. And that's when I began discovering something that most people never talk about, because there's more than one way to be an absent father. Now, I'm going to keep it 100 with you. For years, I judged fathers who wasn't there. And then God showed me something. You can be absent physically, or you can be absent emotionally. You see, there were seasons where I was physically present, but emotionally unavailable. I was working, providing, protecting, handling responsibilities, doing all the things society tells men to do, but I wasn't always connected. And here's the dangerous part. From the outside, everything looked fine, but functionality can hide brokenness. See, just because you're succeeding doesn't mean you're healed. Just because you're providing doesn't mean you're connected. And I think many men live right there, not because they don't care, not because they don't love their families, but because they learn survival instead of vulnerability. Because I know I did. You see, the Army taught me to push through pain. Mission first, drive on, compartmentalize. Those skills helped me on the battlefield, but they hurt me in intimacy. Because your spouse doesn't need another mission-focused soldier. They need connection. And many of us never learn how to give it. And this is where father wounds begin affecting relationships. Now, one of the ways that father wounds often show up in women is through a search for validation. Not because they're needy, but because every daughter was designed to receive affirmation and security. Their number one need for a woman is safety. And when that is missing, a wound forms. Meanwhile, many men respond differently. You see, many men often learn to protect themselves for vulnerability. Women often search for reassurance. So what happens in marriage? She needs connection to feel safe. He creates distance to feel safe. She says, I feel disconnected. He hears, I'm failing. She says, talk to me. He hears, defend yourself. Don't be vulnerable. And neither person realizes they're reacting to wounds that they've had for over decades. You see, the person is not the problem. The problem is the problem. And the argument is not the problem. The wound is, which lead us to one of the biggest revelations that God ever showed me. You see, for years, I thought the father wound affected how I viewed myself. And it did. But it also affected how I viewed God. Because if we're not careful, we'll project earthly fathers onto our heavenly Father. So if dad was distant, God feels distant. If dad abandoned us, we secretly fear God will too. Then I came across something that just changed everything. You see, in the Bible, before Jesus performed any miracle, the Father said, this is my beloved Son, in whom I'm well pleased. Jesus received affirmation before performance, identity before assignment, sonship before success. And I sat there and I realized I spent most of my life trying to earn what God gives freely. Which brings us to the real question, right? How do we heal from father wounds? So I believe that healing starts with 4 things. So number 1, forgive. Forgiveness is not saying that everything is okay or that was okay. It's releasing the right to stay chained to it. You see, bitterness feels powerful, but it's a prison. Number 2, grieve. Not just what happened, grieve what never happened. The conversations, the encouragement, the protection, the affirmation. See, you can't heal what you refuse to mourn. Number 3, learn emotional language. This was a big one for me. You see, for years, my vocabulary was, I'm fine, I'm good, I'm mad, big mad, I'm tired. And that's it. But healing requires deeper honesty. So I had to learn language like, I'm disappointed, I feel rejected, I feel overwhelmed, I'm anxious, and that hurt me. See, you can't heal emotions that you refuse to name. And number 4, this is the most important one. Allow God to refather you. You see, this changed everything for me. You see, healing isn't just removing pain. It's receiving what was missing. And some things only God can give, like identity, worth, security, acceptance, belonging. So before I close today, if this conversation is exposing wounds that you carried for years, I want to encourage you to grab a copy of my book, Never Broken, How God Rebuilds What Life Tried to Shatter. In this book, I share my journey through trauma, shame, loss, brokenness, and healing, along with biblical principles that can help you rebuild your life. And if you're ready to stop surviving and start healing, the link is in the description below. So as we come to a close, I want to speak to the little boy and the little girl, the one who wondered why dad wasn't there, the one who questioned their worth, the one who hid their emotions, the one who spent years trying to earn love. You see, what happened to you mattered, and I know it hurt. It shaped you, but it doesn't get to define you. Because before God heals the father in you, he wants to heal the son in you. Before he heals the mother in you, he wants to heal the daughter in you. You see, Psalms 147:3 says it best. He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. Not some wounds, all wounds. Even the ones that you carried for decades. So don't leave this episode focused on the father who wasn't there. Leave focus on the father who will always be there. The one who never abandoned you. The one who never stopped pursuing you. The one who never stopped loving you. And if this episode helped you, I want to encourage you to share it with someone who needs it. Like and subscribe for more conversations about healing, identity, and faith. And always remember, you're never broken beyond God's ability to restore. Y'all stay blessed.